George Jones. Mr. Jones? And that goes where I saw Mr. Crispin coming back there, that is you. Yeah. So those are the two candidates. Moving right along. Ordinance 2402. This is a change in the residential approval to submit to Montgomery County Planning Commission. Did you want to talk about this here? So this here's been handed up from the Planning Commission for review by Mr. Walliser. Do you want to give an update on Mr. Walliser?
So when I was brought on, I was asked to do a general review of our zoning districts for residential to better understand where we stood and if there was any discrepancies that I thought might be, pertinent. I identified one discrepancy, and that was that in our medium density housing districts, we were allowing row homes, attached family dwellings, with up to 6 units per acre. To me, 6 housing units in an acre seems like not medium density, but high density. So I made the suggestion to the planning board that we move those units into our R40, which is our dense housing districts. I met with Bob from the Planning Commission. He asked me on getting this information to have a draft ordinance written. Myself and the solicitor, we worked on this, and that was presented to the Planning Commission at their last meeting for review. Following their review, they have agreed that the ordinance is needed, and they support it after their review. So they've put it to the board tonight for a motion for us to submit this to the County Planning Commission for their review. And that will ensure that we are being compliant, with aspects of the strategic plan from the county level in terms of fair share and other items like that as well. We are in their plan scheduled by 2030 to add up to about 850 or so housing units, of which only about 150 would be needed in our township. So we have quite a bit of extra capacity here to make that adjustment into our zoning districts. But we do want to get their review before we move forward with it. If the Planning Commission of the county does approve it, the next part of the process here is it will be brought before the board again to consider and post. That way everyone has a chance to see the ordinance and review it and give public comment for 30 days, upon which then it can be voted and passed.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to approve submission to Montgomery County Planning Commission for review.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I want to thank Bob. Thank you for working on that. I know you, Buck, and all the rest of you work diligently on that, and some other things that are moving forward as we're sitting here talking about just this year. It's not the only thing we're working on, so I appreciate you guys. And then we got Resolution 2024-07. This one here is something I just felt necessary to do here. We're up here to do your work, and you put us here. Nobody's just gets stuck on this board. I don't walk in and say, hey, I want to be here. You guys put me here, and I should be able to take the criticism that comes with whatever decision I make, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. So I wanted to rescind the use of the criminal code for public meetings. I get it's going to get contentious in here sometimes, and it did from the start of my administration. So I weathered the storm, and I think anybody else who sits here should have to as well. So I'm going to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-07.
I approve. I'm sorry, I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Also, we have Community Day coming up, working with the Parks and Rec. Ms. Fisher's been working diligently on this as well. And I know this is something that Mr. Murray's been doing for the last several years. This is a big thing for us. So we wanted to, give a budget here for the Community Day, and we're going to set it at $6,000 for you, Kevin. So that should help you guys move forward with anything that you get. coming up, okay?
I just want to be clear on who's responsible for the budget.
It's up to the Parks and Rec Board to spend it how they see fit. I can help with accounting on that side, but it is generally Parks and Rec Board and the committee of volunteers, and ultimately yourself as a chair, to decide on, the best use of that money.
Okay, we've never done it that way before, so I'm not super comfortable with that. I'll help you work with that budget. You're the manager of the township, so I think you're responsible for that money. And you've signed off on the shredding truck already, so
I'm fine with that, but I just want you to realize that I'm a single person here running a township as well, so my resources are extremely limited.
I understand that.
And I will be relying on the board to find the entertainment and stuff they want to bring in. We've had a lot of suggestions to bring a cash prize to the chili cookout, things like that. So is it my event or is it the township's event? And, as Park and Rec's board chair, I feel it should be your event. I can help you on the back end with finances, but I really think you should drive the decision-making for the event.
We do that. We're an advisory board to you guys, to the board of supervisors.
So you've done this event a couple times, correct? And you've seen a lot of stuff that has not worked, correct?
Has not worked as far as what?
How does the 50-50 raffle last year? How much money did we raise?
To be honest with you, off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what that
At your last meeting, you said it was $80.
Okay.
That doesn't seem like a success to me.
Okay.
I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as we need to support you to be able to do a better event. And one of the ways that we can do that is give you some financial ability to do it without having to worry about only doing what you can get a match for. I know you've consistently done that. You've been very good at getting donations. In fact, you've already started getting donations for Community Day. We just want to see that at the board level do even better for you and give you more freedom to have more flexibility in doing the event. Because when you do an event and you're scraping by and you're just doing what you can recover, oftentimes that event will slowly die. And I believe that's what we've been seeing with Community Day from your reports.
Okay.
And we just want to give you resources to be able to do an event that's good.
That was my thought process behind this.
Figured it was.
Okay. Who normally did the budget in the past, Kevin?
Township manager.
The township manager did.
I mean, I can hold the event if you want to give it over to me. I mean, I don't think that's what you're asking for, though.
No, I'm asking you to manage the money that we're going to be spending.
I said I'd be fine doing that, but I don't know where to spend it. So I need to,
let me step back for a second.
Budget for this.
Prior to you coming on here, and prior with the administration that we didn't have for several months, weeks, there was no one here. So from the Park and Rec Board, recommendation was going to be shelf Community Day this year because we knew that you had bigger fish to fry and that you wouldn't necessarily need to be worrying about Community Day and that maybe we shouldn't do it this year. But that was going to be our recommendation. Lisa was at that meeting.
Why should the township pay for a change in administration?
I'm sorry?
Why should the township, because this is a residential event, it's not an administrative event. Why should the residents of Upper Frederick not have something because one person wasn't here?
Because there were several people that weren't here that did several things for us. We're volunteers here. So, you've got an administration that is able to make phone calls and do the things necessary to make the event work.
And Lisa's been doing a lot of work. You've got 10 additional volunteers who are making those calls, who are sending out letters, who are doing all of that work to make sure you're able to do this event. We need to rely on those people as much as possible, and giving financial resources is part of that help.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm not saying that we've never spent an exorbitant amount of money on Community Day. We try to keep it as low as possible. So I'm just saying that pinning the responsibility of the $6,000 on the Park and Rec Board is not something we've ever done before.
Yeah, it's always been carried as an administrative cost in the general accounting fund. It's always been a cost to the township. It always has been. These shredders not cheap. It's, you know, $1,700 for the day. Bounce houses aren't free, DJs aren't free. All of those things have been paid from the general account, from the general fund. They've been carried under the miscellaneous expenses. We're just trying to capture those and give you some freedom to do it instead of relying on someone in administration. If you don't want to spend it, you don't have to. It's your decision. If you don't want to spend it, you could give it all back. But you have that freedom as the chair of the Parks and Rec Board.
We can still allot this money.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like getting your dad's credit card when you go to the mall to buy your school clothes. Just because it's got $25,000 limit doesn't mean you need to hit it.
Like I said,
Let's-
I'll work with you, with
We're gonna
Aaron,
get-
on the budget, but I'm not responsible for the $6,000. Never done it that
I
way.
think you're both kind of trying to say the same thing, though. I mean, ultimately, the Board of Supervisors approves checks that are cut at the end of every, right? We just did it. We approved the bills for last month. But it gives you the authority, Kevin, to say, you know, I scheduled the bounce house, it's $400, and we're not going to ask questions about it because it's part of Community Day. And as far as we know that you've done your research and spent the money according to the Parks and Rec recommendation. So I don't know that we're not saying the same things. I just think we're saying, hey, try to work within this number and see if that's reasonable how you want to spend it. And likely, since you've said in the past, you've been able to do the event very inexpensively. This actually would give you a little extra cash, as Aaron was saying, like with the 50/50, or if you wanted to raffle off a prize. If you said you spent, you know, it's $5,500 for the bounce house and the shredder event, et cetera, whatever else, and you had $500 left in the budget, you might want to say, let's use the $500 as a raffle or as a giveaway. You know, I don't know, whatever you want to do, but to make it more interesting and entertaining for the community. So I don't know that we're actually not saying the same things. The board is still going to approve the checks, the bills being paid at the end of the month.
Okay.
Was there a budget in the past for this?
There had been in years past, but I don't know about the last few years, but I know that Jackson County had a budget for it.
And what, do you remember what it was?
I don't know, off the top of my head.
Okay.
Manager handled it all the time, so it's not like I needed to remember that.
Okay. Let's handle this. Still, we're gonna put this forward, I think, and then next year we'll revisit what we're gonna do moving forward.
Well, like anything, when budget period comes along, Aaron's gonna work with the treasurer, and he's also gonna work with the heads of the committees and see if they need anything budgeted. And my assumption is that Aaron would then review what we did for Parks and Rec in 2024 and what did that cost us, and figure out, is that a reasonable amount to budget for the following year?
Sure. I think it just came down to a responsibility thing for you, just didn't want to do that, right?
Right.
Okay.
I'm not
No,
a
it
paid,
took-
not a paid employee of the township, so that should be
No,
on.
no problem. No problem.
I just have one quick question. How did you arrive at the $6,000 number?
It's based on last year's usage and amounts.
Well, that's what I was getting at, that when you talked about what the past year's cost or what
That's
is
why
the
you asked the
budget.
question.
That was my point too, because
Right.
past history will kind of guide you going forward.
It hasn't been budgeted for the last 3 years. It's always been just run as a miscellaneous expense.
Exactly.
And so this allows us to correctly categorize it, correctly capture the costs, so that when we go into the next budget season, we can account for it correctly.
Well, say for instance, last year was 5,000, are you allowing Kevin, say, another $1,000 going forward with things going up, prices going up?
That would be reasonable,
Yeah,
but that ultimately would be that discussion that Lisa mentioned that I would have with the chairs of the committees to see what they're requesting and what they think they would need in
Yeah.
order to be able to hold these events and make the community proud.
well, it's not only to hold the event, it's to have the event go off and also make it better.
Correct.
And the way you do that is you fund it.
I think it kind of feeds itself. If you do a good event and people are happy, it's going to grow on its own.
Right.
And when it grows on its own, you're going to be able to fundraise a lot better. You're going to be able to raise more money through advertisements, and you'll eventually be able to grow a budget that way as well.
All right, so I make a motion to approve a $6,000 budget for Community Day.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, I'd like to say something. Michelle Murray, 3424 Big Road. This event has been going on for around 20 years. And I'm sorry, Aaron, last year was a big success. It was not a little success. We have had thousands of people walk through there and tell us, the park board, what is that, 4 or 5 people that put that whole thing together? What a wonderful event they have put on. And there's people in this room that have attended and have given us nothing but positive feedback. So for you to sit there and say that it's not and it's going down is wrong.
I apologize for that statement. I take
And
the
that's-
criticism very true to heart. I hope we have a great event.
Thank you.
Corporate Authorization Resolution 2024-08.
The next two resolutions we're going to read are basically bookkeeping resolutions. These are to sign the signatories and authorized, personnel within the township administration for handling our financial accounts. Without these resolutions, the banks, depending on which bank you're talking to, just will not do business with you. They require these letters, these resolutions as part of that process for formal notification.
So resolution number 2024-07, whereas the Township of Upper Frederick will utilize resolution 2021-11 for the order of business and public participation in township meetings, now be resolved and enacted.
That was 4.
Say what?
That was item 4. That was your rescinding of the
That way I
criminal.
went to the wrong one?
Yeah.
I did, I went one too far. I apologize. All right. Those are not in this folder. You keep them on? Ah. Okay, now it be resolved. Whereas Township of Upper Frederick will utilize authorized signatures and administrators approved by the Board of Supervisors following the municipal election. Now it be resolved and enacted, and it is hereby resolved and enacted by the Board of Township Supervisors of the Township of Upper Frederick, County of Montgomery County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The following individuals have signatory and administrative authority for financial transactions and accounts doing business with Upper Frederick Township. Chairman William Lamon, Vice Chairwoman Elizabeth Fisher, Township Manager, Chief Administrative Officer Aaron Walliser, and Township Treasurer Miss Linda Major. We're going to approve this day, 7/10 of 24. Do I have a second, Lisa?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Old business, Perk Crossing Water Sewer Project. We have there, Mr. Wall, as you yes, back here.
So this item remained on the agenda. We are still having discussions and planning for this, and we're starting out with the SSM report. We're going to, probably look into alternatives and starting a group between the firehouse, the HOA at Perk, and ourselves to find solutions that work and fix the problems that the residents believe they are seeing in Perk Crossing, and that does it in a responsible manner for all the parties involved. But we're going to leave that on the agenda as an item, that way you can keep visibility of it.
Okay. Open space, we were going to appoint the members this evening, but everybody but me got to go on vacation. So everybody's going to have that done at the next meeting. Schoolhouse information, that's on the website. We got a report from the manager.
It's not quite up on the website yet. I'll be putting that up this week. I just wanted to let everyone know I've done a review of that particular project here, and what I found, I've talked to the state, I've gone through all of our records. The property was a quick transaction sale, cash sale to the township in April of 22. The grant that was submitted was a 2-page application, which is quite short for a historical preservation grant. Grant failed to recognize that the school had been turned into a home, and that grant was submitted to the county with a budget that was a quick budget from LTL Consultants, just to give a general budget for the rehab of the structure as it is now. It did not count for full rehab into a schoolhouse again or a public meeting space. I believe LTL Consultants' budget was accurate and was a face value for what was being asked for them at the time.
Yeah, that was very quick. That was, oh, by the way, can you get something together in like a day or two?
I've seen those estimates before from engineering companies, and those are usually the kind of back of the napkin. We'll talk to our estimator really quickly, but usually a short turnaround time. Grant application was made 3 months later. It was on a state share grant application, and the state never knew that it was a private home during all of this process, and they awarded it believing that it was a dilapidated schoolhouse that needed to be renovated to bring back up the standards and to hold historic significance. The rendering that you see in the back of the room was done the following year. It has no connection to the original grant application or what the state expects to see with the original grant application. In talking with the state, they gave us really 2 options, for this grant. We hold on to the money and do additional grant applications to try to get to the full cost of what that rendering is. That rendering, because that is a commercial building, would be more expensive than renovating a home. There are much different commercial standards now in terms of structure, reinforcement, safety. Most likely, excluding the purchase price of the home, which was $177,000, would most likely be close to $1 million. So roughly 90% unfunded. With that knowledge, the state's recommendation is for us to return the grant money so that when we go back and apply again, if we decide to proceed with this project, we can do a more complete submission that takes in the full cost and accounting of the project as a whole. These are things that are